Four Cs, Christ Community Covenant Church. Our PSA, our public service announcement. And so I thought I'd have some fun with you today. So coming up on this Sunday, the 14th, is my birthday. Now that's Flag Day. And curiously, my mom she used to tell me, my mom, she wouldn't lie. She used to say that all the flags were put out for me because it was my birthday. And it was just like about 3 years ago that I figured out that that was actually not true, that that's Flag Day. But anyway, the staff had a little thing for me today, and I got this kind of a Flag Day birthday hat. And I thought I'd ask you whether, you thought that was pretty good. Okay, not so good. Okay, well, yeah, okay. I actually like the hat pretty well. So, a couple things that I wanted to lean into this morning. One of you contacted me. I can't remember if it was on Facebook Live or in another environment, but we talked about the possibility of getting some of the sermon material out to you early so that you could kind of read up on it. And I thought, well, that's a good idea, and thanks for taking that initiative. And so we are in our Exodus survey. And so we're going to be doing that all the way through the summer. And this week, we're going to be in chapter 2, the birth of Moses. And so if you wanted to read through that account, beginning with just a little bit before the birth of Moses, really all of chapter 2, I think that's going to be a healthy read for you. Feel free to read on because we'll be making our way through Exodus. One of the things I want you to think about as you're reading and reading on is that the Old Testament and all of its writings, the prophets, the histories, everything points to Christ. In fact, Christ himself says that. You'll remember that after his resurrection, on the day of his resurrection, on Sunday afternoon, he visited with Cleopas and a friend on their walk to Emmaus. And while they were walking, Jesus was astounded that they didn't know some of the details. In fact, he said this. He said, "O foolish ones, and slow of heart to believe all that the prophets have spoken. Was it not necessary that Christ should suffer these things and enter into his glory? And beginning with Moses and all the prophets, he interpreted them in all the scriptures, the things concerning himself." Isn't that interesting? Beginning with Moses and all the prophets, he interpreted them in all the scriptures of the things concerning himself. See, it seems as though everything in this points to Jesus. And so in our study in Exodus, if you could look at the study, look at the scriptures with the idea of your Jesus glasses on and say, wow, this reminds me of Jesus. Wow, I can see where this reminds me of Jesus. And I think you'll be astounded by the many references there. The other thing I wanted to talk about a little bit was the idea of opening up. So we've talked about that on and on through this COVID season of having our services online. And our services will continue to be online for the next several weeks. But we are getting the go-ahead on some level of opening up to groups of the size of about 50, as long as we can manage a safe environment. And that would include things like masks and keeping our distance and still having a meaningful service. And so we're exploring all that. I really appreciate your prayers, but we're thinking sooner rather than later, sometime in July is kind of what we're looking for. We're looking at a couple events prior to that to try and get us excited about gathering back together. I just kind of wanted to let you know that just because we say, hey, let's get back together, doesn't mean it's really easy to get back together. In fact, we're looking at all kinds of things to be able to move some of these high-tech ministries forward, even after the COVID virus universe goes away. One of those is the idea of what's called live streaming. And what that means is that we would actually broadcast our Sunday morning services live online. And that isn't so you can stay home and put your feet up, although that might be fun for you as well. The idea is that you would be able to, if you're traveling or some other reason you had to stay home, or you wanted to invite someone using the internet, we'd be able to move that forward with us. So we're hoping to be able to do that kind of for the rest of our lives as 4Cs. But that means looking at some equipment improvement, soundboard, lighting, cameras. We're wondering what all of that means. So we appreciate your prayers on that. When you do come to join us, we're looking at the possibility of opening several large rooms to be able to accommodate more of us on Sunday morning. Otherwise, in just the sanctuary, it would be just a group of 50, and there's almost 300 of us or more that join us on Sunday morning. And so we're looking to see whether or not we can safely open several rooms, bring what's in the sanctuary forward in terms of music and sermon, but also have live ministry expressions in each of those large rooms so that you begin to experience what it feels like to join together. So all of that seems like a lot to me. But we are very, very prayerful and hopeful for those ministries moving forward. One of the things that's really going to help us open up on our Sunday mornings is that if you would fill out a survey. We've actually had a fair number of you do that, but if you'll go online to 4cs.church, 4cs.church, working backwards, and then you can scroll down and find that survey. It's probably about 10 minutes worth of thinking, but it would really help us get a bead on how comfortable you are and the safety measures necessary in order for us to gather again and enjoy our time of worship. I've said it before, I continue to say it. God did not make us to be designed in isolation and for isolation. The gathering of the saints and the coming together is a critical component of experiencing the Holy Spirit and His life, love, and light in our lives. So if some of you are thinking, wow, it's pretty easy to stay home, it is pretty easy, but you're only getting a piece of what God is wanting to experience in the life of church. So please consider praying for us and preparing your heart for gathering again. And remember that your small group is waiting for you to come and join them as well. So have a great weekend. Peace. See you Sunday.